Would everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, could you take the roll call, please?
Mayor Rowan Hepkins, please.
Present.
Thank you, sir. President Loren Johnson.
Present.
Vice President Sharon Council Harris. Councilor Talia Jones-Water, absent. Councilor Carlette Brooks, absent. Councilor Nicole Beatty.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilor Toya Monroe.
Present.
Thank you. And Councilor Leanna Rollcloud.
Present.
Thank you. Chris Boggs, solicitor. Mr. Nichols on vacation, absent. Ms. Hughes. And Mr. Joe Fukuso, our engineer. Thank you, sir. Here ends the reading. Roll call, Madam President. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Ms. Liz Aklovich, would you like to come up for Citizens Forum?
Residents are still waiting to hear what fines and sanctions will be placed against Councilor Jones-Waters for blatantly abusing her position as an elected public servant and using our community park to have a family barbecue, violating all sorts of park rules and not paying for a permit, as all residents are required to do. We do not want to foot the bill for the cleanup when she has not paid a dime for the permit. And because she knows better, she should be fined far beyond the initial price of the permit. The holding cells have been ready for doors since May. They are waiting for that to go out to be on a bid. There should be something on the agenda months ago, and you could add that right now to place an advertisement for bids for the doors for the holding cells so we can finish that project. There is a ridiculously corrupt inaccuracy, outright lie, really, in the July 6th meeting minutes. It says something about the meeting being placed in the recess without a quorum. 4 councilors left this building. You cannot have a meeting you cannot continue a meeting after the quorum has been broken. The borough manager does not have the authority to place a meeting in recess. All votes that happened after, and also omitted, was the motion to adjourn the meeting, which did take place. There's a video. Nobody said, we're calling for a recess. No, it was motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned. 4 councilors left the building. 3 councilors sat here and called up somebody on the telephone to come back from where she had left to go home. She was gone for at least 13 minutes. She drove home. And you think you can just have another illegal meeting at 10 o'clock at night after a meeting has ended and a quorum has been broken? Everything that happened after that point is invalid, illegal. Loren Johnson did not get voted as president. Sharon Council Harris did not get voted as vice president. That did not happen. There was no meeting. That was illegal.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Santa, would you please come up?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
One of the things that I want to talk about is expenses. I know that we have been told by the finance director that we need to stay very close with regards to our budget. So one of the things that I think that we need to do, and he's probably already doing this, but we need to take a look with regards to if we continue on the trajectory that we're at, where we're going to end the end of the year. We don't want to be in the same situation that we were at the end of last year. So that's one of the things that I'm asking. I also want you to take another look with regards to Quadram, with regards to the website. I know that we're paying them a large amount of money, but I'm not seeing any changes with regards to getting good information with regards to the website. If we're paying them good money, we should be getting proper information with regards to putting information out there to the residents. I think residents are getting more information from word of mouth, and there's also an online application that a lot of people take a look at. One of the other things that I want to talk about is the safety symposium. Liana had been kind enough to actually schedule that. My understanding is that the monies with regards to refreshments came out of her own pocket. I don't think that that's right. The safety symposium is something, and if I have misinformation with regards to that, I apologize, but that's my understanding. If we're having the borough pay money for Chat and Choose, we certainly could have afforded to have the borough pay for something like that, which people are very interested in. The meeting minutes is something else that I want to address. They seem to be very inaccurate. Liz, the resident right before me, had spoken with regards to that. I understand it may be very difficult to take the notes during the meeting. Videos are available, so if you need additional information to get what's actually happening at these meetings, please take a look at that. We really do need to document accurate minutes. And then the other thing is, we heard that in prior meetings, some of the counselors specifically stated that they would not be available at the meetings in August. I know, Lauren, that you were told one thing, but if they're telling us something different at another meeting in public and it's on video and residents have heard it, we really need to make sure that our counselors are able to attend these meetings. And if there's anything that you can do with regards to if counselors start not showing up to these meetings, see if there's anything that we can do with regards to that, because they're not doing what they were elected to do. Thank you very much for taking the time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I Anna, thank you. Thank you for that. It would be nice to be reimbursed, but I don't want to be reimbursed. But thank you for mentioning that.
That way, it was more
Right.
of, like a, not priority, I'm not getting the.
I understand what you're saying. Yes, yes,
That's,
Yes.
I know it wasn't a
Yeah.
significant amount of money or anything
Right.
like that, and I know you wouldn't have
Right.
requested. It's just a matter of principle.
principle, and I appreciate it. And I would like to say that the mayor has also contributed to that symposium as well.
That's true.
Yeah, he did. So I want to thank him as
Well,
well.
Thank you both. for-
And he was not reimbursed either. So we're in the same boat. Right.
And,
At this time, I would like to place a motion on the floor to have Councilor Sharon Harris, Council Harris, removed as vice chair.
Second.
I asked. I asked for this to be put under the accounts payable. So that
So
it
there's a motion on the floor.
floor.
Would you like to, Mr. Boggs, would you like to advise what the next steps are?
It's okay.
So moved.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Wait, what? You have,
So moved.
No.
So-
You
question.
gotta,
You.
no, I don't have a question.
no, you
No,
have
you have
to, you
to
have to say
entertain a
it's been
question. Does
moved
anyone
and
have a
seconded.
question?
Are there any
Thank
questions?
you.
No questions.
So moved.
Hearing no questions. Madam President?
Vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. Councilor Johnson, President Johnson.
Yes.
Councilor Harris is absent, so, she's absent too. So, Councilor Roquel, please.
Yes.
She's absent. And Councilman Monroe?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Beatty?
Yes.
It is unanimous. The motion has passed to ask Ms. Counselor Harris, or have Ms. Counselor Harris step down as the Vice President of the Yeadon Borough Council.
No, 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 no. No, 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 not step down, not step down, removed.
To have Vice President Counselor Harris removed from Yeadon Borough Council.
I'd like to make another motion to appoint Leanna Roadcloud as Vice President of Yeadon Borough Council.
Give me one quick second, please.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Hold on one second, please. Beatty, who second?
I did.
Monroe. Thank you, Counselor.
It's only 4.
Are there any questions, concerns?
No.
So moved. May we take a vote?
President Johnson.
Yes.
Again, she's absent. She's absent. Counselor Roadcloud.
Yes.
She's absent. Counselor Monroe.
Yes.
Thank you. And Counselor Brooks.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous to have Counselor Roadcloud become the Vice President of Yeadon Borough Council.
I would like to place another motion on the floor to have Tomika Tolia Jones Waters removed as pro tem of this council.
Second. My concern is that I want to remove the pro tem position, period.
Okay.
That's another motion.
So how do we do that? I want to remove that position.
It's under
Yeah,
code.
it's that's,
You don't have, then we
you don't
just
have the
won't
authority
vote
to
for
do
it.
that.
It's a council of
I
7.
think we have to have it.
It's a council of 7, so you can't make that decision unanimously.
Yeah.
If the
But we
body,
can put it on the floor.
so right now what's on the floor is removing Tamika Talia Jones Waters.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. And it has been moved and second, Madam
Vote,
President.
please.
Vice President Johnson.
Yes.
She's absent. Vice President Roadcloud.
Yes.
She's absent. Counselor Monroe
Yes.
and Counselor Beatty.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous. Counselor Pro Temp Waters is no longer Pro Temp for Yeadon Borough Council.
At this
I
time,
mean, she's been removed, ladies and gentlemen, removed.
at this time, I would like to consider removing the position of pro tem from Yeadon Borough Council.
I don't think you can remove the position. The position is a part of the bylaw. You can't demolish, right, you can't demolish.
I don't care, yeah. I don't care. Right.
That's it.
Okay,
Yes,
okay, that's it.
yes.
Well, I'm
Okay,
glad
so
you
we'll
mentioned
leave
that
that
next motion. So the next motion would be, I'd like to put a motion on the floor to appoint Nicole Beatty as pro tem for the Yeadon Borough Council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Monroe, excuse me, Counsel, you moved it and it was seconded by? Thank you, Vice President. It has been moved and second to appoint Counselor Beatty to be pro temp of Yeadon Borough Council.
Are there any questions? As I stated, we do not need a pro tem. That's my concern. Vote, please.
To vote, excuse me, President Johnson?
No.
She's absent, she's absent. Vice President Roadcloud?
Yes.
She's absent. Councilor Monroe, excuse me,
Yes.
and Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
It has been moved second. The vote is 3-1. Councilor Beatty, Nicole Beatty, is pro temp of Yeadon Borough Council.
Okay, at this time, we will go to finance reports. A, consideration of the accounts payable list for July and August. May I have a motion?
Okay, hold on 1 second. Motion.
May I have a motion?
Well, hold up. You said July and August?
We only
Yes.
had
We
July.
only have July. We can't have August just yet.
Yeah, August
We're-
is going,
Is that
It
Taking place
says
now.
it says for July and August.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, here's
there's some
August.
There's
I wish we would,
August. Oh,
I wish we would get these out a little sooner.
Yeah, we do have them.
Yes.
I'm going to need a minute to review what's on my desk.
yeah.
So I'm hesitant to offer a second on this motion with Quad Jam. So I'd offer a modification for an amendment to exclude Quad Jam Enterprises for $6,726.88 for web services that we haven't received after paying a $26,000 deposit.
And I emailed them today
Madam President.
Day.
May I speak?
because the content.
Madam President, may I speak?
Sure.
At least 3 weeks ago, an email went out to all of the counselors saying that we have access to the new website. It has not gone live. There have been updates. We have a weekly meeting to talk about content. We are 3 months behind in paying their money that's owed to them. It is per the contract. If we do not, and Mr. Boggs, please, if you don't mind, if we do not pay them, we are not going to be able to post anything to the website. They have already said to us in the email that no posting will take place unless they are paid their back balance, and it is per their contract.
So may I ask, what I saw on the website, there isn't any content.
I don't know what you saw in the I don't know.
I
what you
saw lights,
Yeah,
graduating lights.
yeah,
I saw numbers at the bottom.
yeah.
I saw the department, community events, but when you click on it, we're not able to see anything.
It hasn't gone live.
Even in
So
demo
that's
mode,
just a
you should be
little
able to
thing.
click through and
You're-
review the
you're-
site.
You're seeing information that is in the process of being transferred over. It hasn't gone live. We don't have any content.
Mr. Dodson, I'm not sure
Excuse me.
how familiar you are with web services, but even when before it's published, you should be able to click through and see the content that's there. I understand we may not be the most tech savvy individuals, but we know that when you're in the process of creating a site, you're able to click through and see what the content would be. And it still baffles me how we are 3 months behind in payments to them when we just signed a contract with them and issued them a deposit of $26,000, which is 50% of what the annual contract is. So how do we go from 50% to 3 months behind in 1 month?
Because, Madam Counselor, the money was due prior to. The money was due months ago. Because of...
There was no contract months ago. The contract was signed. We cannot be behind. So if you want to get hustled by this, people, you can do it on your own dollar, but you're not going to do it on the taxpayer's dollar.
Well, Madam Counselor, all I can tell you is that as your counselors and legislators, if you choose not to pay them the back money, we are in breach of contract, and we cannot upload any information.
We have no content. They are in breach of contract. And until the contract is reviewed and made clear to everyone, and their work product is produced, I don't believe we should give them any additional money.
That is the pleasure and well-being of the council. Do as you choose.
Thank you.
Because at this point, there's no content on the site.
Madam President, I choose not to argue the point. You're the legislators. If you choose not to pay, take the vote and don't pay.
May I? Can we take the vote? So we just received the email today, as a matter of fact, from Ms. Sapp, attaching the link to the demo. That did not give us proper time to review and actually critique the what was actually in the link.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, I don't think it is, I don't think you should be the one to say that we would be in breach of the contract.
I asked Mr. Boggs at a previous meeting and not moving forward with the contract and paying them what we being breached in an executive session, and he says we are in breach of contract.
Well, I don't.
Didn't we prove that to be inaccurate with the last line of the contract, the last time we
This would be
reviewed it?
different.
Speak, please.
This is something different. If you want to have an executive session and talk about this, we certainly can. But I'm with Mr. Dotson as far as what's happening today. We spoke before, if we didn't pay them the $26,000, that was a very directed question. I thought at that time, yes, that looked like we would have been in breach of contract. There are other issues that have arisen. I don't know which side is more, I haven't reviewed this in a minute. I don't know what the new delinquencies are, if there are any, if that's true or not. This is a more complicated question at the moment, but as Mr. Dotson said, you are the legislatures. This is your AP list. You can choose to pay all, some, or none of the AP list.
Question. I have a question. So we never really were clear about, so we voted to pay the 26 and some odd change $1,000. So that was, we agreed to do that. So the $6,000 a month, I'm still not clear, what is that supposed to be? So we paid them half of what we agreed their yearly contract would be. So why are we 3 months? This really does not make sense. How is that possible?
Because the AP list was not passed last month. They are due money for this month, and we had issues the month before. So they are literally, once we paid the $26,000, we were already behind. So right then, from
We cannot.
Already behind.
So,
Excuse me, ma'am. You are out of order. This is a conversation between the
Do not
councils.
do that from the audience,
Excuse me.
please.
And this is why we can't conduct. Then stop.
Please stop
I can make
doing this.
I can overspeak. I can make a mistake, but it's not up to you, as a member of the audience, to interject. And that's why we can't get business conducted, because it becomes very emotional. So allow me to answer the councilors. If I made a mistake, I apologize. But we are 3 months behind. We are default on our contract, period. If the councilors choose not to pay it, don't pay it. Yes, they were. They were paid their $26,000, and immediately after, the very next month,
No.
the clock was ticking.
Do you have that,
was
Councilor
June,
Rowe-Cloud, do
July.
you have that contract where they lied to us and told us that if we didn't sign it, we would be in breach? However, the actual contract said that they won't start work until they're paid?
right, right.
And they stated that.
Right.
They
They
were
won't
paid,
start
but
the
they were
work
still.
until
If
they
you
were
don't
paid.
start work until you're paid, how do you get behind with a deposit?
Well, they were paid, they were due the 26,000 in May.
My motion stands to remove them from the AP list.
In May. But then they were not paid for June, for July, and now we're in August and they still have not been
So the
paid.
$26,000 was
A down
for
payment.
a down payment, and they're supposed to get $6,000 every month until January.
No, just,
So I'm still confused.
Not
That
six-
makes no
not-
sense.
What is
Not
it, like
6,000.
2,600 a month? I
yes, it's
think?
about $2,600
So
a
where's
month.
the $6,000 coming from? Oh, because we're behind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
And I
it's
guess you
3
can't-
months of $2,000.
So, no,
worth of payments.
because
That's what
Right.
you're
on this accounts payable list, it says $6,726.88.
Where's the invoice
Yeah, that's a good question.
that
We
shows
haven't
us
seen it.
what it is that they've done? Where's the invoice?
Do
We
you
just
have an
got the
invoice?
link for the new website, like at 4 o'clock.
Well, whose responsibility is it to have an
You have
invoice?
to know, you have to know, I don't know if they sent in an invoice, but they've sent, that's right, now Feast is away. That's not my position.
The invoice
And I do
would have
believe
been
that we
sent to-
knew that
But he-
our finance director would not be here. So we didn't make any provisions to gather information that would be necessary for this meeting before then.
Well, I will say this. If we brought the people on in the beginning of May, and they also, that was their down payment, and they were supposed to get a monthly payment the end of June. They never got that payment. They were supposed to get a payment at the council meeting in July. That didn't happen. Now we're here in August, and we're not paying them again. I don't know if we can expect for anybody to do anything for us if you're not paying them.
But
They
where
haven't
is the
done
work
anything. Where's the work
product?
product?
We need to see the work product.
Did they not say that they would not do anything if we did not make payments?
They received the $26,000.
But that was only
so
the down
where is-
payment.
But there still should have been some work product with that being paid.
There is,
Well,
it
they
is
did,
work
but
product,
small.
Madam Council, but it's not to your satisfaction. And as I said earlier when I spoke, that they did send the link to the new website. Unfortunately, it's not enough to satisfy you guys, or some of you didn't see it.
You sent it to us at 4 p.m.
No, ma'am, it was sent previously.
It was
It
not.
was not.
No, it was not.
not. It was sent at 4 p.m. today.
4:13 p.m.
4:13 p.m. was the only link that we ever received regarding a website in Quad Jam, and it was because it was requested by Councilor Beatty earlier today. We never received anything additional. If you received it and didn't send it to us,
Right.
that's on you. We didn't receive it.
Well, at this point, if we don't pay them something, we're not going to have a website. I can bet
You
you
just-
that.
$26,000 is they're acting like they didn't get any money.
Right.
Like, that's
I don't-
ridiculous.
But, Mr. Boggs, you have to say that it is the contract.
That's not how
valid?
that's not how legal advice works.
The argument
Give him a
can't
minute.
be, like, the argument
You don't
can't
tell the
be-
lawyer what to
It's
say.
a contract, we have to have an argument
At this-
about the repercussions of not moving forward. It's not about, we don't like it, we like it. It's easy. Either you don't respect the contract and you're not going to pay them, or you're going to pay them. But
Gen-
this back, I don't understand.
But where
Generally,
is
yes.
the work product?
Generally, yes, but now there are some other counselors that are accusing Quadram of being in breach of contract for lack of,
Right.
and I haven't reviewed it, so I don't know if that's a personal opinion, if that's absolutely true. So this is not as clear cut as, I think it was the last time.
So it would be prudent for us to table or.
There is a motion on the floor.
No, there is not a
Oh, excuse
motion
me,
on the
excuse me, you're
floor.
correct. There isn't. So,
I
So,
made the motion to amend to exclude Quad Jam.
but I would like to also include another vendor to that motion to exclude. It looks like we're still paying for mostly web services. I was under the impression, a clear impression at our last meeting, that if Mostly Web received the $6,000, that was the final invoice, and they were going to turn over the passwords and whatever else was needed to Quad Jam to allow them to go on the website and do whatever they needed to do. So now I'm seeing on this AP list an additional expense of $2,418.75 in addition to $393.75. So if the $6,000 that was paid to Mostly Web at the meeting a couple of months ago was the final payment, where are these expenses coming in from? And it says it's for July.
His invoice is in the office. He is owed $2,800.
I would like to see the dates of service
Not a
because we were told after we paid him the $6,000
Right.
that was his final invoice and he was going to turn over the passwords. He was holding the passwords hostage. That's what we were told, that he was holding the passwords hostage until he received his money. So now he received his money a month or so ago, and he's still billing us for what?
Because I think that the money that we paid for $6,000 was for a total, I think, of 6 months. We were that far behind. And so he continued the work. And all the posting was not done by Quadjam. All that posting that we did in the ensuing time period was done by Mostly Web. That's why he's owed $2,800.
No,
That didn't answer the question. We ended the services. You told us that he paid.
Go ahead, Madam Counselor.
You told us that he passed on the passwords to Quadjam. He's released everything. So what is the additional 2,700?
$2,700.
month is that for?
I don't know.
No, actually it's $2,800.
2,800
It is $2,800.
in July.
What I can state is that we paid him the $6,000 because we were far, far behind. He did a lot of work. The $2,800, that his threat to, when he passed on the passwords, that was, I think, just a few weeks ago. But he had worked up to that period. Then Quadjam took over
No.
once he,
We voted to pay him in June. We didn't have a month in July. Remember, we had to leave when we showed up.
Right.
So we paid him in June. After that, the understanding in June was that Quadjam, and once he got what he was owed for 6 months of work, which would have been January through June.
Yes, ma'am.
He was supposed to turn over everything to Quadjam. The services needed to stop in June. Why was he still providing services in July and August? So it's not making sense. He's just sending us invoices saying that we still owe him money. What is he doing?
Is that because Quadram hadn't gotten their $26,000, so?
They got their money in June too.
but he had been working all the time. I would recommend.
So-
that-
Well, here's an email. I don't know if you remember,
Yeah, I don't.
but he did, what's his name? John Chiruter. He sent an email, a very nasty email, I would say, on June 27th. And there were several replies from various council members, basically telling them that it's outside of our control. We can't control the quorum because he was upset about not getting paid. But the meeting that took place after June 27th, that's when he was approved the payment.
The $6,000.
Right, so he should not have been providing any more services.
Well, Council Roadcloud, I had a very nasty email because remember on July 26th, I sent an email to Borough Manager, all of council, and Mr. Boggs questioning why there has not been any change in the website since I knew we paid for Quadjam to fix our website. He said in response was Mr. DeRuiter does not have access to your website anymore, nor has been asked to upload anything. Regards. That was dated July 26th.
From who?
From John DeRuiter.
Well, then there you go,
So he put it in writing, he's not doing anything.
right.
But he did continue to work. He made.
Oh, that is
he-
just too bad.
Ma'am, I'll say, it if you don't mind, I'll say it again. There is a motion on the floor to,
I'd like to amend my motion to include Yeadon Borough of Mostly Web's payment as a part of the exclusion along with Quad Jam from the accounts payable list.
a motion has been made. Second.
questions,
Ma'am.
concerns?
No, second, please. Thank you.
I'm concerned that if we don't pay them June, July, or August monthly payments, they will not do anything to the web, and the web is going to be dead. And they have our codes. I'm right.
Well, what have they done to the web today?
They put enough on to let us see that they are there. They do have the codes, and they just gave us a little tease of what they can do. But if we don't pay them their monthly payments, I don't think they're going to do anything for you. Nothing. And our website will be dead.
Yeah, cut our losses, we're overpaying them. We used to pay $1,700 a month for web services. Now we're paying $6,000 a month?
No, it's
It's
20.
not 6,000.
It's 2,600. The 6,000 is for several months. It's not for a month. We owe them about $2,600 a month. But they haven't been paid since July.
They haven't
June,
done
July, or
anything
August.
since,
Done anything. They haven't done
we
anything.
haven't seen anything that they've done. I don't know
So
why this is
if all
confusing.
they have done was upload a flyer or two, is that what we're saying is justified for this amount? That's what we're saying?
I'm saying that.
Because the content of the website hasn't changed. It's still the same content that's been there for months
And-
and years.
And Mr. DeRuiter sent me an email that he's willing to send over everything to Quad Jam to make the website go live. It is up to us to come up with, as I said to you earlier, to come up with the content. And so we're going to redesign the pictures, what we want, the revolving pictures, what we want the borough to look like. We're going to put in all the information. They don't have that stuff. They're just using stock photos from our old website. So they're in the process of improving the new website. That's all I can tell
And
you.
I can understand that John still has some control of our website.
He has no control
control.
of our website.
Well, then how is he billing for services in July? And he relinquished his services.
And said he wasn't
And-
doing
and in
anything
June,
on
right.
July 26th. He
I
said
think,
that.
to answer your question, because I read all his emails, I think he was making an idle threat because he was frustrated that he, but you
No,
asked,
you
but you
can't
asked me.
you cannot interpret his mental thinking.
Because we would continue to, we had to keep going, we had to keep going. So we kept.
But do you understand this mess
So,
that
this
we're
body-
dealing with? And we're dealing with taxpayers' money.
I understand
This
it,
is
I
not
understand it so well that we should
acceptable.
never have voted on Quad Jam, period. I understand it very well.
But it's not about what you understand, what we should or should not have voted on. We're dealing with real money, not play money. This is real money. And we can't just be throwing monies to vendors who's claiming that they're owed money, but they don't have any proof to show.
We have the invoices. All we have to do is see Sheila tomorrow and look at his invoice.
Well, then
His
we-
invoice
Then
is
let's
very
talk about it
detailed.
tomorrow.
Then we'll talk about it tomorrow.
That's it. If you guys
Well,
made it.
yeah,
you
we'll
made
talk about it
Right, you
tomorrow.
made a decision.
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor.
All right.
That's
All
totally
right.
up to you
You
guys.
still chit-chatting. Let's,
All right, let's go.
motion on the
He
floor.
was saying he doesn't have access to the website.
And we were told when we voted to pay Mostly Web, that he was going to turn it over. And we were told that he did turn over the passwords. It's ridiculous to me. It is ridiculous to me that we would not have any control whatsoever over our website. That's ridiculous to me.
The only,
let the mayor
yeah,
speak.
the only question I have, can you repeat the motion that's currently on the floor? 'Cause
A motion that's on the floor is to exclude Quad Jam and Mostly Web from the AP list. And it was
Second.
seconded.
Madam President, may I ask the council a question?
Go ahead, sure.
Madam Council, Madam Vice President, the count has not been taken, and I'd like to present a question on the floor. If we don't move forward with paying Yeadon nor Quadjam, what is our plan for our website? Excuse me, this is not a conversation for
I'm going to
you.
ask you, please stop speaking from the audience so that councilors can talk amongst themselves so that we can come to some resolution. Thank you.
This is the type of planning, this isn't a planning session.
Right.
This is, you didn't come to us and say to us, we're in this quandary, and, you know, how do we solve that? That would have been at a workshop session, that would have been at a session, an executive, at any other time than right now. What you all are asking us to do is to blindly pay bills, and I think that the three of us have made it very clear that that's not what we do. We are fiscally responsible for this borough, and it is our responsibility to do our due diligence, to view invoices, to get information. You're holding meetings without our finance director present, and you don't have any other information available. It is irresponsible and inconsiderate to ask us to make a decision or to come up with a plan on the fly for you all's lack of planning. That's not okay.
Well, I feel
I was going to say
we
that.
paid,
Thank you.
we paid a down payment to a company, and we signed a contract to do that. In that contract, it states that we are supposed to make monthly payments, installments, to this company to get things up and running. And I don't know how we expect anyone to do work for us, and they haven't been paid since June.
So I'd like to read you an excerpt from the contract. It says, and this is what's in the contract before it was ever signed, Mr. Boggs. Either party may terminate this agreement by giving written notice to the other of such termination before or during development. That is in the contract, and it existed in the contract before you all voted on this contract, because the three
It
counselors here.
wasn't you all, I didn't vote for
The
that.
three counselors here voted no on that
And
contract.
so did I.
Well, then how did it pass?
It's a math question. You don't have to answer that.
I think it was a
However-
3-2. I think it was a 3-2 vote, I believe.
Don't believe. So, that part was in the contract, and it says, in the event, I'm sorry, I was still reading. In the event, the work is, what does that say? Postponed or terminated at the request of the client, consultant shall have the right to bill for extra work completed. So at the time, without having seen any work product, when we were forced into this contract, we could have canceled it. We didn't have to sign it. So all of that, we are in breach. We were never in breach. Either party may terminate this agreement by giving written notice.
And that says
That's
before,
in the
during.
contract. Yes. Development. Given that has anyone seen any updates on our website? No. Then we're still in development, wouldn't you think? So we did not have to sign this contract, and we did not have to pay $26,000. So I don't understand why we're even here and why you
was
keep
wasted,
trying
but it
to
was
give them
voted
more
on.
money.
It's going to be but none of us voted for this.
I know, so the monies were wasted when they voted on it.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor.
Can I ask for a 5-minute recess, please?
The recess told me
5-minute recess. 3-minute recess, whatever.
Is it a recess or an executive? Then it's not a recess, it's an executive.
That's what I'm like, does somebody gotta go to the bathroom? I say we survive for ineffective counsel.
I want to get, that's the borough fault.
They only had walls from the 90s.
Thank you for your patience. We have a motion on the floor.
No. The motion really was to exclude Quajam and Yeadon Borough from payment by way of the AP list. As discussed, I think the motion now is to terminate.
No, we're voting on that motion.
There's a motion, it's been read, Madam President.
Okay, so moved. May we have a vote?
President Johnson,
Yes.
Councilor Roca, President, Vice President.
Just to be clear, this is the motion to exclude mostly web and
Yes.
Quajam.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor, she's out. Councilor Monroe
Yes.
and Councilor B.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Motion to for the consideration of the accounts payable list for July and August,
With the exclusions.
with the exclusion.
So moved.
Who's first? The motion was made by?
Are you
Me.
second?
Thank you. And second by whom? To pass the AP list?
No, she can't make the
She
motion,
can't
Ms.
make the
President.
I asked for the
She
motion.
entertained the motion.
Nobody
Nobody
seconded.
said second.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I do have some questions. Primarily, the questions relate to the reimbursements for the hall. We have some sloppy accounting when it comes to this hall. And given the most recent issue with respect to people actually monitoring these parties and not getting paid all of the hours they were working,
Yes.
and the the people who rented the hall was still getting the full amount of monies back. There's a problem with the accounting, with the rental of this hall. And I think we need to sit down and go over the process and procedures for same. Because we cannot have people providing services and not paying them.
Yes. The original contract for the hall called for the event and was not per hour. So the event was $100 per event, not $25 per hour. Most of our events were 4 hours. Then they started to people started wanting more hours, so it started to become more hours at $75 per hour. You are correct. I did send you an email relating to the fact that we will ask council to adjust the contract or rewrite the contract that is $25 per hour, no matter how long the event is. Every hour, the person who's monitoring, furthermore, I spoke to Mr. Boggs, the person who's monitoring is a borough employee, and we can either have it as a borough employee, as overtime, or per hour.
And you said that's $25 an hour?
It's 20, we will be asking councilor to take another look at the contract, and instead of it being $100 per event, it will be $25 per hour. So the person is paid no matter what the length of time is.
So the event is 4 hours?
Yes, ma'am. Can be 4 hours.
No, it is 4 hours. That was already on a contract. 4 hours. So if the events are being extended, it's
Yes.
being extended outside of the contract for additional monies,
No,
but
no, the contract states that you can have additional time at $75 per hour.
so if you're extending an event,
Yes.
why wouldn't you take into consideration paying the employees for the extension as well?
It's a great question because traditionally, they never went over 4 hours. Just recently, let's say this year, it started being, can we have 2 hours? Can we have 3 hours? And then to two young ladies who were our monitors, and you're absolutely right, it wasn't fair for them to be there from this hour to 2 o'clock in the morning and make $100. And so because you asked the question, as I stated to you, I thought about it, I'm now going to be asking, I will ask council to modify the contract to reflect $25 per hour.
So the reimbursements that are on this AP list, did we take into consideration whether or not these events were extended and ensure that our employees were paid for the extended hours?
No,
No what?
no, we did not. You asked the question, did we take in consideration the changes? No, the changes have not been made.
So we're just going to give people
No, ma'am,
back?
we're going to come to council next month and ask council to modify or rewrite the contract to reflect.
No, I'm talking about as far as this AP list is concerned right now.
Yes,
So what you're saying, what you're asking is that we approve these reimbursements.
Yes.
Knowing that we did not take into consideration that the hall monitors were paid for any extended hours.
I think the contract as written is that we pay what the contract asks for. They would charge $75 regardless of the monitors, and I think where you're going is unfair to the people who worked and were not paid adequately. I didn't consider going back. First of all, the money has already been paid to the people who rented the hall.
What you
And so-
mean? We didn't
so-
approve it yet.
Huh?
We didn't approve it yet.
That's on the prepaid
No,
side.
yeah.
And Counselor, we should also consider that the burden is on the borough, not on the people who rent it. We can't change the contract after the fact and then modify the amount that they're being paid.
Yeah.
Now, we could
we'll
be in
do it.
breach of violating
we'll have
labor
Labor
laws.
law. So that's what I said, the burden is
Yeah.
on the borough to make right the employees.
Yeah.
It's not on the person who rented the hall.
And I did ask for some information relating to
Yes, ma'am.
any and all
You did.
monitors who worked extended hours and were not paid for same.
Yes, you did.
And I have yet to receive that.
And you will
And I
receive
do
it.
feel like that there has been ample time to bring that to the floor for modification for this meeting. We've been talking about this issue for weeks now. It should have been prepared for this meeting, not to have to wait a full month to the
What
next
issue
meeting.
have we been waiting for months for?
I said we have been talking about the hall monitor issue for weeks, and it should have been prepared for this month rather than have to wait one more month to discuss it. There was ample time for you to get Counselor Rollcloud the information as well as suggest the modification. We don't have to keep pushing things off by months.
Well, at this point, Mr. Dodson, can you please ensure that we all have a copy of that contract?
Yes.
And include your recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you.
I also have a question about a reimbursement for check number 9642 for $100 for return for a lot event on 7/1/23. Where did this amount come from? And when did we start renting out borough lots?
What is that?
What is that, July AP list or August?
July, page 2. July, that's not the one.
So,
What page is it?
page 2.
It says fee return lot event.
The lot you're referring to is the movie theater lot?
So do
There
we
was-
have a contract to rent the movie theater lot?
No, we don't have a contract to rent the movie theater lot.
So what was the rate that was charged? How did we determine what a deposit was? What was the criteria?
We use the same criteria for the community park.
Is that now a community park?
It is not.
So there weren't more than 15 people?
So
There were
there's-
over 100 people.
Community park says 15 people.
I'm sorry, you said that was in community park?
No.
It was in a lot.
The movie theater parking lot.
Who authorized that?
I did.
Is that something new?
It is.
Oh, God.
So,
So
okay.
you want, you,
That's not even safe to walk on. There's like these big
No,
pits in there.
there is no big pits in the movie theater lot.
I've
We
driven
walk,
there.
I've walked the lot.
Listen, it was pits in that.
They had,
Rain barrels
they,
there.
they
I live
had,
on Holly Road, I know.
Twist your ankle.
we use the same criteria, which is insurance, down payment, $50 we received for using it, and we turned $100 back.
That's a liability.
I'm sorry, you said
They had
50,
insurance, ma'am.
you said $50?
Yes, ma'am.
To rent the movie theater. Was our Public Works and Police Department informed of this event?
Yes. And I was there myself.
Our chief doesn't look like he agrees.
Confused. So,
And I actually live on Holly Road, and I was confused at how many people were traversing the street. Evidently, a resident who lived across the street pitched tents and had about 100 people there, and for a graduation party, judging by the decor. And people were walking back and forth across the street so much. I said, this looks dangerous, and it can't possibly be valid. So I asked our chief, did he know that the event was occurring, and he had no idea, and neither did our Public Works Department. So my question is, how do we come up with fees? How do we equate fees to rent a lot in a residential area, on a residential street that is not just community property? How do you just make that determination
I made it.
without any authorization?
yeah, we didn't know anything about that.
I made a determination because as a borough manager, I'm over the properties of the borough. So in using that property, no, you asked me the question. That's how I arrived at it. Simple as that. I took the criteria from community park and I applied it to the movie theater.
So will you apply that criteria to, that seemed more like a block
No
party.
drinking, 15 people.
A block party that requires a permit, that requires police,
And the prior
That's-
approval of council.
and requires, but this did not, because you just decided
Because
to allow them to do it?
Because the park is not, that movie theater lot is not used.
That's not a park.
It's not a park.
The-
It's not a park.
It could have been.
That's not even zoned recreational.
That's why I was there, to make sure. So I was there the evening.
So you the security.
So I'm about to say, if people start shooting, what you gonna advise?
It was
Get us all
it was inappropriate, and it should have been
Dangerous,
brought.
it was dangerous.
It should have been brought to the attention of council. We cannot just unilaterally make a decision to rent borough properties. We can't just rent the lot outside of Borough Hall for a party because we own the property. I mean, we can't just do that.
That affects all the neighbors.
Yeah.
Of that
You
block.
can't do that.
With no police supervision on time.
Violated their rights to peace and quiet.
And it went till 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, it went to not, don't say that. It went to 9 o'clock and I was there,
I'm getting the two events mixed up.
I'm sorry, what time was it?
9 o'clock.
Till 9.
And they paid $50 to rent a lot from how long to how long? From how long to how long? They paid $50 to rent a lot? How long was the event?
I
A
can't remember.
4-hour event.
Yeah, it was
No,
4
because
hours.
it was,
Got over, didn't
no, it was about 2 o'clock when I contacted the,
It was what?
2 o'clock PM,
Oh, I was about to say, okay.
when I contacted.
So there were 2 events, one on July 9th and one on July 1st.
That's where my confusion came, it's two different.
Wait, I'm at the park?
At the same
At the lot.
At the lot park.
So now the lot is
Oh my
like the
God.
new event space.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this didn't occur by motion, but do we need to make a motion to not unilaterally rent out our
No,
borough?
ma'am. You can simply ask me and say, Mr. Dodson, we are not renting out any properties other than ones that we have contracts for. And none of the properties will be
I
rented out.
don't know why that's even needs to be said.
Yeah.
Somebody's got too much initiative.
I'm just grateful nothing happened.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the fallout if something would happen?
Yeah, I think we need to discontinue that. That might be
I
a
mean,
problem.
really, it could have got wild around there and anything could have happened, but thank God. Just don't need
Of course,
to do
I
that.
Okay,
was.
what are the motions on the floor?
That wasn't a motion, that was a question about something on the AP list.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
A motion has been made and second
Can you state the motion, please?
to pass the AP list minus the motions before.
Okay.
Council President Johnson,
Yes.
Vice President Roca,
Yes.
and Councilor Monroe,
No.
Councilor Beaton.
No.
The motion fails. AP list is not approved.
The motion is tied, and the
Tied.
mayor has to
Well-
break the tie. Sorry, Mayor.
May I ask, Councilor Monroe, what do you have, is there a problem with something else on the list?
Yes, I've stated several problems, including the fact that
Well,
our
which ones?
finance
You can't put
director
them
isn't
onto it
here.
As an exclusion? Okay.
No, no, thank you. No, our finance director isn't here to answer questions either. We have our borough manager who unilaterally makes decisions that don't include council. And, I'm just not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with this. So it's up to our mayor.
The motion on the floor, you said excluding, this
Quad
isn't-
Jam and mostly web.
That was already
That was
voted
already,
on.
so now it's just the AP list in general, if it passes or not.
So nobody gets paid again.
I don't believe we guilt trip people into votes. I think we have to vote how we see fit.
what is your, yeah, concern of
What we
the,
just discussed, the events, that was my, I'm just being.
but the events happened already, right? So
Yes.
Yeah, and they're not gonna happen again. You know,
I don't
Is your
see-
all right a yes for the motion or no?
We voted no, but the mayor has to break the tie,
Okay.
so we can vote the way we see it.
if everything is already paid for, I don't see any downside. Yeah, so I would vote yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you. Consideration of the cash balance reports for June and July. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions, concerns?
Who seconded, please?
I did.
Thank you.
Vote, please.
President Johnson.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, Vice President Roca.
No.
Councilor Monroe.
Are we, where is the cash balance report?
It's in here, I saw it.
Okay. Yes, I just wanted to make sure it was prepared in the same, yes.
Thank you. And Councilor Beaton.
Yes.
The motion passed.
New business. I would like to, under new business, commend Hakima Jabbar for being a part of the Seed to Supper program with the library. She has taken a leadership position in getting food on the table. The vegetables are absolutely beautiful. And the Seed to Supper program is through Penn State, and they came down and gave us all classes. I'm really happy to be a part of that. Food is being distributed, I think, every week now. And they are even growing eggplant and corn. It's amazing. So to Hakima Jabbar and all the ladies at the library who participated in the Seed to Supper program, thank you so very much, and thank you, Penn State. At this point, we have vegetables growing at the library, at Community Park, and we have vegetables coming from, I think it's Lancaster. What's the name of the program, Mr. Don?
Urban Roots Farm.
Thank you for that, Urban Roots Farm. And they're being given out every Wednesday here at the borough. It's a good thing. So thank everyone very much who's participating in the distribution of the vegetables. Tomatoes galore. It's really a wonderful thing. So thank you everyone who participated. On now to the minutes. Motion to approve minutes of June 15th legislative meeting, July 6th special meeting, and July 20th legislative meeting. May I have a motion?
I think it's been made clear that there are way too many corrections that need to take place on these minutes before any consideration can be made.
And I don't see the June 15th minutes.
You need time to go over them?
We
No,
don't, I
that
don't
there are
believe
way
we-
too many corrections that need to take place. And that needs to be a housekeeping issue. Like, as one of our residents clearly stated, we have video of the meetings. So what happens is, can be verified. So they need to be corrected before being presented to us.
So you need time to go over them?
No, we don't need time. They need to be corrected. We don't need to correct them. They need to reflect accuracy. The borough manager needs to correct them. The borough secretary needs to correct them, not the borough councilors. And the June 15th ones are not present.
Yeah, she's saying that evidently Crystal was putting
No,
something.
she's saying that according to the video of what took place at our meeting, when we took care of business after Ms. Brooks left, and we didn't have a quorum. Ms. Liz made a comment in the beginning of the meeting that the meeting in essence and the work that was done afterwards was illegal. Councilor Monroe is asking that based on the legal issue, asking Mr. Boggs, is what took place legal? If it is,
That is, please, that's not what Councilor Monroe is doing.
she's saying that it's not legal what took place.
That is not what Councilor Monroe said, and that is not what Councilor Monroe is
Please
doing.
repeat that again.
I said there are too many mistakes in here for us to even consider these meetings, and the person responsible for presenting.
Yes,
I'm sorry if we're interrupting your call.
that's okay. You can go ahead.
It's not a
Go
council.
ahead, Councilman Monroe, please.
Oh, he just took a phone call in the council meeting.
I took the phone call, so I put a Council Sharon Harris.
Okay.
Oh, okay, because it's 8:30.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said that these meetings are grossly inaccurate. They need to reflect what actually happened in the meeting, and it does not. It is not our responsibility to correct them on the floor every time. We're telling you that these meetings are inaccurate. They need to go back to the drawing board and present to us with correct meeting minutes.
So basically, she's asking that Ms. Sack goes over these, looks at the videos, and makes corrections.
What is it needs to be corrected, madam?
She
The
doesn't
minutes.
She doesn't want to, excuse me, excuse me, please. Excuse me, please. Excuse me, please, and please allow me to run the meeting. She's asking that Ms. Sapp go through the video and compare it with what she has in the minutes and to make the corrections. That the council members do not have to sit and go through every item that's on the minutes to make corrections. She needs to make them.
Although,
So we will take
my
this.
words are that Mr. Dotson is this borough manager and elected secretary for this body. He is responsible for this presentation. While he may defer to Ms. Sapp, this is ultimately his responsibility.
And that's
Ms.
true.
Sapp is an administrator. She is not our secretary, and she is not the borough manager.
So, Mr. Secretary, would you please ensure that Ms. Sapp makes the
No, I will
correction?
take the advice
The
of
corrections.
Councilor Monroe, and as a secretary, I will review the video, and I will do my job.
Thank you very much.
So we're gonna table.
So we're gonna table, the minutes. Motion to table,
No,
minutes.
there's no motion on the floor. It was never seconded, and we also don't have, no, there was a motion was presented. It was not moved or seconded, and
No one has made any motion about the minutes. I don't think we're ever going to get a motion about the minutes.
So now I'm gonna ask the table.
so you don't need the table. There's no motion.
Okay, all
We're
right,
not going to reach that part of the agenda.
okay.
But I would also ask that we be presented with the meeting minutes from June 15th, because we don't have them.
And I would like to ask that these meeting minutes be presented at our next legislative meeting.
I would ask that they be presented a week prior to our legislative meeting,
Right.
just in case there are some more errors that need to be corrected.
Okay. At this point, wait, may we have the engineer's report?
Thank you. We've got quite a few items to go over here. I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. We did complete a couple projects this month. The road program got mostly completed. There's still some cleanup work on the speed hump and speed table, the speed slot and the speed hump on McDade. But for the most part, that work got completed. We did complete the Cypress Avenue project. Our goal was to get that finished before school. We started in July, finished before school opened, and that project got completed also. So the first item of consideration is to put out the Duff Avenue sinkhole project. I know the minute, or the agenda doesn't have a lot of detail, but I'll give you a little bit more. This was a 2022 CDBG grant. The grant amount was $181,450 with a borough match of $49,000. So the motion tonight would be to ask council to proceed with bidding this project.
Go ahead, we're listening. We can
Oh,
do it
I didn't
all.
know if you want to do them one at a time.
Yeah, no, we'll do it all
Yes,
at
they,
one
no,
time.
we need to do them one at
Do
a
we?
time, yes.
Why is that?
Because they're different projects, and they're separate items on the agenda.
Well,
One
that's
is
true.
one is for a bid, one is for a grant, another's a different bid, they're separate items. Mr. Boggs?
And they can be, but they can still be done. We can hear him out and
It could be, but council clearly wants to vote on these things one by one.
It's not council
we
clear,
were
don't
going
put me
to
in,
do that.
don't, like, this, come on now.
Well, there are some times that we vote on the entire body.
We don't even know what any of this, you got to be.
Motion to consider the bid for the Duff Avenue project. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any concerns, questions?
Is would this project be solely funded through Yeadon Borough? And do you have an?
The breakdown was, the borough is receiving the budget for the project is about 200, and let me get through the math here because I don't have the total amount. 180 plus 50, so 230. So the breakdown was $181,450 from the county, CDBG money, and $49,000 from the borough. And at the beginning of the year, I gave Mr. Nichols all of these capital projects that had to be done for this year, or would be done this year. And all we're asking tonight to is go out to bid. Doesn't commit council to anything. So once we take bids, if the bids come over the amount or under the amount, council still has the right to, to consider awarding the bid. We're just asking for a motion to go out to bid.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, may we take a vote, please?
President Johnson,
Yes.
Vice President Roca,
Yes.
Councilman Monroe,
Yes.
what happened? She answered? I didn't hear it.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councilor Beatty,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Okay, item B, there was a DCED multimodal grant that was due on the 31st of July. We submitted the application on behalf of the borough. This was for the traffic improvements to the signal out in front of the Borough Hall here. So it's to improve the signal at Church and Bailey. The amount of grant, the amount requested in the grant was $612,927. So the only consideration tonight is to ask council to pass the resolution so that we can send this to DCED to complete the grant application. Again, no commitment, just submitting the grant application.
Okay, consideration to approve the resolution for the DCED multi-modal transportation fund. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Was that you, Councilor Beatty? Thank you.
I thought we were on B. We're on C?
We're on B.
We're on B.
B.
On B.
It's to approve the grant application, so we need to modify that.
Yeah.
It's to approve, the first is to prepare the grant
To prepare the
application.
grant.
It's big.
Consideration to prepare the grant for the DCED Multi-Model Transportation Fund for Church and Bailey intersection improvements.
So moved.
Who said, oh, that was roll call?
May I get a second?
Second.
Wait a minute,
Vote, please.
wait a minute. I thought it was, you didn't make the motion, Councilor Beatty? Okay. So that's Councilor, Vice President? Thank you. And it was second by Councilman Monroe?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. President Johnson
Yes.
and Vice President Roca
Yes.
and Councilman Monroe
Yes.
and Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Okay.
Pedestrians approved.
The next item C on the agenda, so we just talked about a DCED grant application. The borough had previously received a DCED multimodal transportation fund for crosswalk and ADA ramps throughout the borough. These are at various locations. It's important to get these, they're ADA ramps, they need to be brought up to code. They are, they're probably a legal a lawsuit waiting to happen. So there's 43 ADA ramps at various locations, 486 linear feet of crosswalk striping, and 1,404 square yards of resurfacing. This grant is, and again, all we're asking council tonight is the approval to go out to bid, not committing to anything at this point. The amount of the grant was $269,644, and the borough match in this particular grant was $80,000. So just asking for council approval to go out to bid.
Consideration to bid for the DCED Multimodal Transportation Fund grant for crosswalk and ADA ramp upgrades. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Take a vote, please.
No? I have
No,
questions.
Any questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, do we have any idea what, you said we have 43. Do
Right.
we know what one may cost, or is this project to fund them all?
Yeah,
or are
typically
we-
these cost in the.
Can I finish my question?
What's that?
Can I finish my question?
I'm sorry.
Is there an option to do sections of the borough, or like zones, or do we have to do, is this for all of them at the same time?
The previous engineer put this grant application in, and she had selected the locations, when she put the grant in. I assume that she did an inventory, went around. They typically, if they're on a state highway, they're more expensive, so they can cost upwards of $10,000 a piece on a state highway. If they're on borough roads, because PennDOT has higher, a little more, the plans that we put together for them are a little more intense. But the ones on the borough roads, maybe $6,000 to $7,000. Now, if the bids come in, I don't know if this answers your questions or not, but if the bids come in over and we can only do 38 of the 43, then we can do that, or Borough Council can elect to, to do what it wants to do with that. But all we're doing tonight is just getting approval. The plans and specifications are completed. We just need to go out to bid to get to get bids on the project.
But is the general idea that, the monies that we have would do them all, or are we going to have to do, because we don't have access to the grant that was filed or the intersections that are being considered?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the idea is to do them all that were in that grant, because that's what
Okay.
DCD was informed of when they approved the grant.
Okay. And how long ago was it? Because, the cost of time and materials has gone
Yeah.
up exponentially.
Exactly. I know, it's going up a little bit. So that's what I said. I think that the grant was generous. It was conservative, let me put it that way. So I think we're going to be okay with this.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So, I kind of feel like we just installed some of these ADA ramps, like, fairly recently. So, already?
We did some inlet repairs a few months ago, and Public Works may have done some, but this was a conglomeration of like 43 of them throughout the borough. I mean, I have the exact location of every intersection. I don't have it with me tonight, but I can send the borough, the council, the exact location of every intersection that's getting done.
Would you do
Councilor
that, please?
Roadcloud is right, there were a bunch, because we had the discussion about how some of them have those reflective strips going around
But
them.
none of these are totally different than those. We're not doing them over again. So.
When
Like
you
I
say, when you're referring to ADA ramps, you're talking about
The red dots.
the curb, right?
Correct.
Yes, we recently had some within the last 3 years. Recently had new ones installed.
You probably have upwards, I mean, if you think about how many intersections you have in the borough, you have a lot of intersections that need to
Right.
be done. So 43 is not a lot considering the number of intersections the borough has. And even if you did 20, 30 before, and we do 43 now, you'll still have more to do.
So so where do we get the 43? Are those the most dire
They were,
ones?
again, Ms. Mulvaney, she's the one that selected these locations and submitted them to DCED.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay. May we have a vote, please?
Yep. President Johnson,
Yes.
Vice President Roadcloud,
Yes.
Councilor Monroe,
Yes.
and Councilor Beaton.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes and is approved.
Okay, item D is you have the Keystone, or you got a Keystone grant to replace the library windows and doors. Now, you did other windows a few years back, yes. These were the additional windows and doors that were not done with the last grant. It was a 50% matching grant that you received earlier this year. We're trying to bid this through CoStars, so we don't have to. CoStars allows us to go to the state procurement system. That will eliminate an intensive putting together plans and specifications. Architect Bob Lynn's office is involved in this, helping get the specifications out. Again, only asking for council to approve proceeding with the bidding for those doors and windows.
Okay. Consideration to bid for the Keystone Grant for library windows and door replacement. May I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any questions, concerns? May we take a vote, please?
President Johnson,
Yes.
Vice President Roquel,
Yes.
and Councilor Monroe,
Yes.
and Councilor Beaton.
Yes.
The motion passes and is approved.
I should have proceeded this too. So next month, assuming that when we take these bids, because all we're doing tonight is approving the process to go out to bid, but council will have to approve the contracts for each and every one of these once we accept the bids. So again, not obligating anything tonight in the way of expenditures. And some of these may, given the time of the year, may actually be 2024 expenditures.
So are they sealed bids?
They'll be sealed bids, other than the library, because we're trying to do that through CoStars.
Okay.
Right, but all the other ones will be sealed bids, yes.
And just for the benefit of the public, can you just explain briefly how the sealed bid process works?
Sure. We use Pen Bid, what's called Pen Bid, because that's what most municipalities use. So the process is that the plans and specifications are advertised on Pen Bid. Contractors that elect to bid the project go into Pen Bid electronically. They download the plans and specifications. There will be a date certain by which they have to submit a bid. So let's suppose that bid is, those bids are required to be submitted on October 1st at 10 a.m. The bids are all submitted electronically, and then we get results of those bids from Pen Bid. We then come back to council and say that, let's just use one of the projects, Stuff Avenue sinkhole. Bids were accepted on October 1st. We'll have a letter to council saying these 5 bidders bid on the project, and we're recommending to go to either the low bidder or the second low bidder, depending on if there's any inconsistencies in the bid. Sometimes bidders make mathematical errors, sometimes they're not qualified, sometimes they're missing the required information, but generally it's the low bidder.
Right. So it's the lowest responsible bidder.
Lowest responsible bidder. Thank you. Okay, and then the last one, this has been going on, if you remember, for quite some time. It has to do with the flooding it's the resident that lives off in North Providence. I call it Hereford Place. We had sent a plan to them of what we wanted to do to try to alleviate that flooding there. They wanted an easement in place. The solicitor got involved and sent his attorney an easement document. That precipitated a meeting with his engineer. So we met his engineer on site along with the property owner. And what they're requesting at this time is they said that, again, prior to myself being involved, this goes back several years ago, the borough did do some work over there and dumped the pipe onto the property, which they say precipitated the flooding. So they're not objecting to getting the work done, but they want additional details and calculations to get the work done. So that would be an expenditure of about $5,000 for additional details if the council wants to proceed with this project.
Madam
Okay.
President, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Vukuso, are they still threatening lawsuit? And if council were to move forward with $5,000?
I mean, that's the word that's been thrown around. I don't know if the solicitor had any conversation with their solicitor about it, but, they were, in fact, at one point they were asking for a crazy sum of money just for the easement. Now they're saying, they just want to know that whatever work is being done, they want to be reviewed by their engineer. So we have done a sketch. We haven't really done a detailed plan. We did a sketch. They're insistent on some additional details. And again, this is not something that the borough has to do, but I would expect if council elects not to do it, then you could possibly be facing a lawsuit. But I don't know the answer to that.
We could always possibly face a lawsuit
And
for
this is
anyone
one property that we're talking
One
about?
property.
who doesn't like what's happening. But my question is about the way this motion is written. What is the $5,000 for? Is it to make additional calculations?
Yeah, it's for additional engineering detail to satisfy his engineer. Right. That's exactly what it is.
So who's receiving $5,000?
Our firm would do the work, or you can have anybody do the work. But that's their request at this time, to have additional engineering details prepared.
So basically, they want to pick an engineer for the borough to pay $5,000 to give them more information on the easement?
They're not asking to pick an engineer, they're just saying that the borough, through their engineer, myself, needs to give them this additional detail.
How is this outside of your current scope of work?
Well, I mean, anything we do is by the hour, so we could do it. I just didn't want to expend this amount of money without council's approval. I mean, I could do it, under our current contract, but I thought this should be brought to council for council to approve it.
Well, what kind of details, additional details, are needed, and who's to say, I mean,
Once I give them the additional engineering detail that they're requesting, their engineer, his engineer will review it and say, that they agree or disagree. But right now, they just have, our intention was to, what happened was, a few years back, again, prior to myself, there was a problem with stormwater runoff coming down Providence Road. A series of inlets were put in, and then a pipe was dumped onto this property, okay? I think it was done without the property owner's permission. I don't know the answer, but I think that's what happened. Then these storms happened in the last couple of years that have caused disruption on the property. And so we've met out there several times, and what we wanted to do to try to remediate it was to extend the pipe closer down. What happens is it dumps out probably several hundred yards upstream of the street. And so what we want to do is extend the pipe out, get it closer to the stream, so all this erosion damage that's occurring will go away. That was our intention. We put together a sketch. We've given it to him. You've paid us to do that sketch, again, under our current scope. So we've given him that sketch, and they're saying, okay, we think we agree, but we want to see calculations to show, this size pipe will carry this much water, and they're asking for additional detail. My estimate is that would probably cost some additional dollars, and I wanted to make sure council was okay with spending the money.
but shouldn't those calculations be included anyway?
What was missing from your picture?
We thought that just doing a sketch for him was going to satisfy him, and he's saying it's not going to satisfy me because of what was done prior. You previously, they dumped the water on our property several years ago, and now I have this damage. So I want calculations to show, what you.
But so my concern is that this is very vague and just additional calculation and plan details. What does that entail? What did you give them? Where is it deficient that $5,000 would fix it?
We simply gave them a sketch to extend the pipe. We didn't do any drainage calculations. So when you're putting in a storm sewer, you do drainage calculations. But and I forget the size of the pipe. It's a 21-inch pipe that was put in that dumps out on that property. And our thought was we would just extend that 21-inch pipe further down. And I think, to me, that will solve the problem. They're saying, okay, we think that'll solve the problem, but give us some more proof.
Okay.
But that should have been included in the initial information you provided to the individuals to show, okay, this is going to solve the problem, and this is why it's going to solve the problem. So the calculation should have already been included.
So if I did that, you would have already spent the $5,000. I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you're trying to remedy a problem, I think we should do our very best, put our best foot forward, not half step. And I think that's what I'm hearing, that we just gave them the bare minimum, and we thought they were going to say, oh, okay.
I've been doing this a long time. Those kind of sketches are generally okay. They have a law firm involved. The law firm is a very good law firm. They have an engineer on staff with that law firm, and so they're asking for additional information.
And when you say they, you're talking about his
The
law
property owner.
firm?
The property owner.
So how much did we
owner.
pay for the sketch?
I would expect we did the sketch for, like $1,000, something like that. So.
And you're telling me that when you do this, you don't include the drainage that goes into a pipe? It seems like that would be basic information.
All we want to do is extend the same size pipe. To me, it didn't require calculations. We're extending the same size pipe. Right?
We don't need their permission to extend the pipe, right?
Yes, we do. We need an easement from them.
Oh,
It's
well.
on
Because
private
it's on their
property.
property.
It's on private property.
We'll redirect the pipe
That's what caused the
somewhere
problem
else.
to begin
You
with.
can't redirect the pipe?
No, that was one of the things that we kind of looked at, but there, it's his property all the way down. I mean, again, I think that when the pipe was installed several years ago, again, I had nothing to do with that, but when the pipe was installed several years ago, from what I talked to Mike Pizzullo about it, and Mike said there was a lot of complaints about stormwater runoff down Providence Road, and so a series of inlets were put in, and the pipe was put in not by Public Works, but by the contractor that Arnell, who did the stormwater work for that. But that was prior to me. And again, I've done this many times in my career. A sketch to do this would be sufficient. But
So what is
again,
your recommendation?
If you remember, this goes back about a year and a half, right? We've been talking about this for
A long time.
For a long time. And, it first got hung up on needing the easement. The easement took almost, 8 months, back and forth between the attorneys. There was a request for money. But then, if council is interested in solving the problem for this property owner, then I don't think you have a choice.
Mr. Box, do you have anything to say about this?
He summarized it correctly. They've gone through multiple lawyers. They made a ridiculous sum of money offer at the very beginning, which we summarily rejected. They changed lawyers. They have a law firm, as he said, that's prominent, that has an engineer on staff. This all preceded, both of us. I have seen pictures. I have gone out to the property myself. The engineer's gone out at a separate time. There was serious flooding on this person's property. He did come, I want to say it was like April or May of last year, and gave a presentation. It's still your pleasure.
Owns that whole street. It's like
Yes.
historical.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a larger piece of property, right?
Yeah.
So my issue is simply this. I mean, this is the first that I'm hearing that, attorneys are involved with this issue. I don't know did you present the sketch to anyone on council or anyone within
The sketch has just been going back and forth between, originally, again, as Mr. Boggs said.
But the point is, I just feel like, someone, had you presented me with a copy of the sketch, I would have said, okay, so where are the calculations to indicate how much water it will be able to flow through the pipe, so forth and so on. I would have asked these questions, and I'm not an engineer.
But we're not, that's my point, is that we're not upsizing the pipe, we're not doing any quote calculations, because we're just extending that 21-inch line through the property. So in my opinion, no calculations are even necessary. I don't know what it's really going to prove. I think it's just, how can I say this diplomatically?
Is there a guarantee when you?
He's not a friend of the borough.
And it's like,
Would the flow be the same with the extension of the pipe?
exactly, it's just.
And will there be a guarantee on your work? And if so, how
Never
long?
guarantee. We don't ever.
Never guarantee?
Never guarantee.
Wow.
Because storms are, you can have.
I think at the very least, we should be able to see and review the sketch and the information along with this. I think this can be tabled.
Yeah, I can send.
So, I mean, we don't need to table it because we haven't talked about it. I don't think that we do this tonight.
I just, like I said, I did not want to go forward with it without council understanding
Yeah.
what needed to be.
And when do you plan to do the work?
What's that?
When do you plan to do the
Well,
work?
I'm not going to, but I will send the sketch to council. I'll send it to Mr. Dotson, he can distribute it to council.
Okay. Okay, motion to table, okay, good.
So with that, that's the end of my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We used to just do them.
I'm going to skip to the manager. Mr. Dodson, did you hear me?
Yes.
We're going to skip to the report.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want to go by we're going to go by the manager's report?
Yeah,
Ask for
I'm
motion.
skipping things.
Or you want to ask for motion?
Motion to hear the manager's report.
That's not
Is that how you're
a
saying it?
thing. That's not a thing.
A motion, you want the motion to consider
Under your report, their motion.
hiring Mr. Andrew, 9A.
Okay. Consideration of hiring Andrew Gillian as a full-time, did you want to do this, Mr. Johnson?
Giuliano as a full-time code enforcement officer.
So this is the resumes that were sent to us.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Not those.
No.
We sent
No.
them- We sent them.
That was a crossing guard. We don't have any information.
We sent the emails. I know we sent the emails with all this information.
Where?
With this, I'm sorry?
Where? Who you sent it to?
Electronic. We sent it electronically.
It
Did
was
you
in
get
the
it?
last packet.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was in the last packet.
It was in the last packet.
And it was sent electronically. We don't do anything without sending it first electronically for your perusal. Then we send hard copies by delivery.
So this was for, what, July?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, it came up at our meeting and someone for the audience spoke on it because it didn't have a number as in terms of termination, but we spelled the person's name out for hiring. So I know it was on the floor, but we had a discussion.
For July?
For July.
Yeah, because I believe he was on the agenda for, in July.
He certainly was.
Let's see, 7/27, maybe it's 7/20?
It
Not
looks like
7/27?
maybe July 18th,
Yeah.
we received the.
Oh, okay.
So, we did not receive the application, we just received the resume.
Right, we sent the resume.
But not,
All references were checked, all backgrounds, all,
Has this person started working?
yes, ma'am, he is.
Why? Got to be kidding.
So,
I
we're
knew it.
supposed to vote to consider hiring someone who's already been hired. Why even ask us at this point? We already hired him. So what are we supposed to do, fire him at this point if we don't like him? Like-
I mean, so how's he doing?
But, you know, Madam Councilman, may I say something? He is, you're correct in what you just said, but he is a very good hiring. And as a matter of fact, we didn't have that many applicants for that position, so we were very lucky to have this gentleman. And I would seriously ask you, and sending you the resume, to really consider it, because he's a very good hire.
Well, he's been considered already, so at this point.
Motion for the consideration of hiring Andrew Gilliam
but he's already hired. He's already hired.
as a full-time code enforcement officer. So let's do it legitimately.
No.
May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any concerns? Well, I guess we already
Um,
stipulated that.
Well, I mean, I just want to ensure that, is he affiliated with the fire department?
No, ma'am, he isn't.
Okay.
Is he affiliated with anyone on council?
He's my cousin. No, he isn't.
No.
So
That we can-
nepotism is at play, kind
Oh,
of.
my goodness. Will we have a vote, please?
No,
for
have
President
all,
Yes.
no, I still have more questions though.
ma'am.
Like, has there been a background check
Yes,
completed?
ma'am. President Johnson
Yes.
and Councilor Roquel.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Monroe.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councilor B.
Yes.
Vote is unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Consideration of accepting the salt bid of Eastern Salt Company Incorporated in the amount of 400 total tons at $73.73 per ton. There's a conglomerate, a bunch of different boroughs to go after this, and this was the absolute lowest. And so it didn't change, so we're the benefits of this price.
May I have a motion?
I should say beneficiaries.
So moved.
Did you, Ms. Beatty, did you make the motion? Vice President? And who seconded?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Any concerns, questions?
How many bids were there?
It's like 29.
How many bids were there?
There were, I think, 4 bids.
Were they sealed bids?
It was handled by a company, so I don't know the bidding process, but it's traditional. It was done under previous administrations. This is nothing new. We just happen to be the beneficiaries. Again, I know you didn't ask this question, but we just happen to be the beneficiaries of a price, not of a good price that didn't increase.
So what was the price last year?
I think it was, it's higher, much higher. Not that much higher, 80 some odd dollars.
Was Public Works included in this process?
Not in the process, but they were made aware. I got the information from Public Works.
What information?
About the bidding process, and I got the information from this gentleman who conducts this bidding process. And so it's in an email, and I'd be happy to send it to each one if you would like to have it.
May we take the vote, please?
I don't have enough information.
May we take the vote, Mr. Johnson?
President
Yes.
and Vice President Brockwell,
Yes.
thank you. And Councilor Monroe
No.
and Councilor Booty.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passed. In consideration to authorize the sale of an old and in disrepaired code car that's sitting in the lot near the movie theater. What is this? Okay, so the motion is the consideration to authorize the sale of an old and disrepaired code car, police car, and a street sweeper on a municipal bid.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Council.
Any questions, concerns?
I do have a question. What do you mean disrepair?
It means that it's beyond its weight, its value. There's no value to it, other than the tires and the body, whatever parts. But it's beyond us paying any more money for it. It does. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
So, you done?
So the credentials are up to date on it still?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just been
So-
sitting.
So does that mean that we won't have a street sweeper for a while?
No, we have a street sweeper. This is
Okay.
one that's.
This is just, okay.
Don't we have a new one?
No, we
It's
leased one.
relatively
Lease?
new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not the right one, but we have one.
Oh.
So,
Okay. May we have a vote, please?
So because these are 3 different departments being rolled into one, does this money go back to these departments?
The respective
Mr. Johnson?
departments?
I can't answer that question. I've never had the opportunity to do this, so I don't know if the money rolls back to the individual departments.
So I think the chief will want his money back if we're selling a police car, because that would affect his budget. I don't think that we take money from the code department, that the money should go back to the respective
Yeah.
departments
Right.
once
Yeah.
the sales are complete.
So what was your plans on where did you think the money was going to go? Just back to our general fund?
That's what I thought, yes, ma'am.
This sounds like a question for the
It
finance
should go back to
So-
each department. Do we need to?
That is not a problem. That is not a problem.
So I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay.
I'd like to amend the motion
Okay.
for the consideration of the sale of the old and disrepair code car, police car, and street sweeper on municipal bid, provided that the proceeds are returned to the budgets of the respective departments.
Absolutely. So moved.
Second.
Can you hold 1 second, please? It was moved by whom?
Me.
Well,
This
Well,
is
actually-
amended. The motion is
Well,
amended.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
move it.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Vice President, and then that's what he had, Vice President Rowe Cloud and Councilor Beatty. Madam President, are you ready for the vote?
Yes, please.
I do have one more question.
Go ahead.
What happens in the event that these vehicles do not sell on municipal bid?
I guess we just, when we had the fire truck many years ago, we got a very, very low price, and when it looked like we weren't going to anything, we scraped it. We scrapped, it was for scrap. We just happened to get $600 or something, it was many years ago. So I would have to submit and say, I can look at the research and see what happens if it doesn't take on municipal bid, and get back, and then respond to you that way.
Okay.
President Johnson,
Yes.
and Vice President Rowe Cloud,
Yes.
and Councilor Monroe,
Yes.
and Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
Thank you all, and the motion passed.
At this time, we'll have the solicitor's report.
So I was asked to update the ordinance for commercial vehicles being parked on private property. It was somewhat unclear. This should have been in your packet. I believe this would have been the July 20th meeting. I think I submitted it July 18th or something, somewhere around there.
It was.
This is simply to advertise it and get public comment, but essentially, this breaks down to, in residentially zoned districts, the gross weight of a vehicle shall not exceed 10,000 pounds, and the maximum vehicle exceptions per household to this rule is 1. So there can be 1 commercial vehicle, 10,000 pounds on private property, no more.
And approximately what size vehicle are we talking about?
My understanding is that your typical big commercial vehicles, not the, like a box truck, are in the range of 20 to 30,000 pounds. When you're down towards, like a box truck, you're down to, it has the weight on the side, but when you're down towards something like that, it's closer to
A
10.
small pickup.
Yes,
Okay.
those would definitely qualify, yes.
Okay.
But it still limits those to 1.
Madam President, may I address it? We are currently having issues with people parking Penske, Hertz, large trucks on residential blocks. And we've had a couple of complaints. I've complained because it's happened on my block numerous times. It's going out throughout the borough. It's over off of South Longacre, so we want to arrest the situation before it gets out of hand.
Are there any exceptions that are made for people who may be moving in or out of properties?
Well, I mean, if they're actively working, I wouldn't necessarily call that, like, this is for like parked overnight. There's like, you're parked there, nothing's happening. I can't imagine.
I mean, you rent a U-Haul, you return it in the morning.
Right.
Are there
And that
any
should be, if
provisions?
it's over 10,000 pounds, it would not be an exception. If it's 10,000 pounds or less, that would be okay. Otherwise, they'd have to find some place else to park it for the overnight.
I think that that's a consideration that we should give our residents who might be moving in. If you're moving in a whole house and you're parked, you can't park in front of your house overnight to unload a truck.
But in this case, the guy was parking there every night.
Right, we're not talking about the guy parking overnight. My question was about the exception for people who may be moving in or moving out
Yeah.
of a residence.
I don't.
Is there the possibility that you can obtain a one-day permit for a move-in or a move-out so as to not to inconvenience or be unwelcoming to new residents?
Absolutely good. Could go to the police department.
But that's not in the ordinance.
But some days it may
That's in other parts, that's in other parts of our code, is that you can get an exception, a one-day exception from the chief of police. If you want that in this particular, I mean, that's why we advertise, we put it out to public comment.
I think
If you
it
want
should
things
be.
added, I mean, this is not the
Yeah.
final ordinance, this is a draft.
I think we should
Yeah.
add that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason people break rules is when they don't know them. So
Yeah.
if you see just no parking of commercial vehicles, I mean, Yeadon's 8 blocks and 2 cemeteries. It's gonna be hard to find a place to put your vehicle overnight.
So we're
So
going to
that
do
needs to be
this.
considered for the ordinance.
We're going to do this with the exception.
Well, no, this is
Oh.
just to advertise. So at the end of the advertisement period, we would
Absolutely.
like you to take note that we would like to have that exception.
Absolutely.
So we don't have to add anything else on?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Any more questions, concerns? May we have a vote, please?
May I ask a question? In the conversation, who made the motion, please?
Yeah, I don't think we made a
It
motion.
hasn't been, the motion hasn't
I
been
didn't
placed on the
think so,
floor
so
yet.
we need that.
Okay, consideration to, well, he did mention the motion, didn't he?
I mentioned, and then I described it, but no one has moved.
Okay. May I have a motion?
Oh, so moved.
So I'll say Vice President Brocloud, motion, and Councilor Beatty, you so moved. Madam President? the roll.
Yes.
Okay. President Johnson
Yes.
and Vice President Brocloud,
Yes.
Councilor Monroe.
Just one more question, though. Where is it being advertised?
Well, I believe we normally advertise in the Chester Spirit and put our ordinances out at the front desk so that they're available to the public.
And how long is the advertisement period?
It has to be at least 7 days, no longer than 60 days, so we can do this at the next legislative meeting or the one after that. That's up to you.
Thanks. Yes.
Thank you. And Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you. Mayor's report.
Okay, my report has been submitted for the public on the table there. Just a couple of things on the score. Just wanted to bring us up to date on the police staffing. We did hire, council did hire 4 full-time officers last month. Well, we're down to 3. We hired 4, and we approved 4.
We did vote to hire 4, but one accepted another position. So we
That's
voted-
all in my
yeah.
report, if you
Yeah.
allow me to explain it. Last month, we voted to hire 4 full-time police officers. I did say at the time that it was really poaching in this industry, that other municipalities can sweep them up with more lucrative salary and benefits. So we did lose 1 so far. We may lose another. So just the fact that we hired police officers don't mean that we're going to keep them. So of the 4, we have retained 3 so far. That leaves us from 13 plus 3 is 16 full-time officers. Keep in mind that one of those full-time officers came over from the part-timers, the 2 part-timers we had. So that leaves us with 1 part-timer. So 16 full-time, 1 part-time. And again, we're not getting a lot of, or any response for part-timers right now. I would like to ask the council to consider, again, asking the Civil Service Commission to advertise for more full-time officers. It's just going to be a continuing, I mean, we're, according to I believe our budget, we're allotted 21. Even if we ask for 5, if you get 5, you may get 2. So it's, you know, you still have control over that. So I don't think it's a budgetary issue. But I would suggest that we ask council to ask the Civil Service Commission if they could continue hiring at least 5 part-timers.
So I'd make a motion that we open the police officer position and allow the Civil Service Commission to conduct another test.
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Vote, please.
President Johnson,
Yes.
And Vice President, roll call.
Yes.
Councilor Monroe
Yes.
and Councilor Brooks. I mean, Beatty, I'm sorry.
That's a Freudian slip.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Solicitor, we may have done it a little bit out of order because that's not on the agenda. Do we need to make a motion to modify the agenda, or are we okay?
Right, we didn't have a workshop meeting where the mayor could previously submitted a report, so we probably should amend the agenda.
Okay, so I make a motion to amend, well, do we rescind that motion that passed?
We rescind the motion.
Do we rescind the motion that already passed, or do we just start over?
We can, if you do something correct afterwards, that is good enough.
Okay. So I make a motion to amend the agenda to include opening a test for this with the Civil Service Commission to hire more police officers.
Second.
So moved. May we have a
And
vote, please?
hold on, please. Are you ready for the call?
Yes.
President Johnson
Yes.
and Vice President Roquel.
Yes.
And Council Monroe
Yes.
and Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you.
I want to thank council for that. So we don't have to take another vote on the previous, okay, good. And real quickly, we did have a public safety symposium, August 10th, organized by Councilor Road Cloud. About 75 residents attended. It was very well attended. And you could just read about it. It's been posted. We had panelists, and there was good synergy in talking about community or global cooperation in handling various issues. So I won't go too much into that. We did have a burglary suspect caught. I did include that here. It was in the Delco Times. We want to thank Detective Leah Sesenek, who helped in the investigation that brought this apprehension. He was terrorizing other neighboring boroughs. I believe he hit us twice, but we thankful that he's off the streets. Next Mayor's Forum will be on Thursday, September 14th, the second Thursday in September. There'll be flyers. Flyers are printed. They'll be disseminated shortly. And the forum will honor the recent police retirees, new police officers that were sworn in, as well as our crossing guards.
And what time will that be?
That'll be 7 o'clock at Borough Hall in the auditorium.
Okay.
And it'll be fun and games. You'll be well fed. It'll be, everyone's invited, including children. I'd like to see more children out, not just adults.
It's a school night, Mayor. They got to be home.
But 7 to 8:30,
I have a question.
certainly. Go ahead.
May I be recognized?
Sure, you may.
Oh, okay, thanks. The bid for the cell doors. Do we need a bid for the cell doors?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's more for the borough man. It's
Yeah,
the
I sent-
lowest bidder?
No, I sent all the information to Joe Facuso.
Okay.
To begin the process. We have proposals in, and now I've sent him information to advertise to ask him to start the bidding process for the doors. You can-
So-
Yes, ma'am.
Why do we need a bid
Proposal.
to replace doors?
Because they are over $25,000, $26,000.
No, why do they need to be replaced?
Why do we need to be replaced?
The doors, yes.
Because we've changed the whole holding cell.
Okay.
And so those old iron, those are all out. They're solid steel on rollers, with a small window, so forth, a tray to administer food through them.
So they don't fit.
So
they don't fit.
To answer your question directly, yes, they don't fit.
So I'm just a little confused.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that normal to request proposals and then put it out for bid?
I took the proposals, our superintendent and myself reviewed the proposals so we can see exactly dimensions, what it looked like, what different vendors had to offer, so forth and on. So once we had that information, we found out because of the price, we had to then take it out to bid.
Mr. Boggs, is it customary to have to bid for repairs?
It's the cost. That matters. That's what has to come to you.
So
Is it over
gonna be
25?
It's gonna be over how much?
It says $26,000.
Anything over what amount has to go out for bid?
Oh,
But not professional services. Professional service, you could spend $1 million on a lawyer, but we have to bid to, I'm not too sure about that. But okay.
I mean, if they have to be replaced, they have to be.
I know they have to be replaced, but I don't know that that's the process.
Is that the process, Mr. Boggs? You believe so?
That doesn't sound like it's much confidence.
Any other questions?
I think it's also best practice.
Well, if they've already accepted proposals, so and we already have people recording us saying that they would cost this, so even if someone could do it for
Right, yeah.
20, they're gonna watch this video and say 26.
nope.
I'm finished my
Mayor
report.
completed his report. But Mayor, I'd like to say that the officers that you hired are chief, they're very, very friendly, and they seem to be very community-oriented. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mayor. Tax collectors report, Ms. Hughes.
Permission to report from my seat.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I want to say, ask the secretary to mark me present for this meeting. I wasn't here for the roll call. Secondly, I'd like to ask council to consider moving the tax collector's report under the finance reports time slot, because the tax collector reports things that relate to finance.
Because the tax collector, I'm sorry, say what?
Reports things that relate to finance. So I ask you to consider that for the next and ongoing meetings when you put the agenda together. Secondly, I want to remind the residents that school tax discounts end on August 31st. So if you want to get the discount, you need to get your payment in by August 31st. There's an upset sale. There's properties in Yeadon on the upset sale. The upset sale is September 21st. If you know that your property is on that list, you still have time to make arrangements to get it off the list by making some payment arrangements with the Tax Claim Bureau and media. If you need more information, you can call me on Monday. Yeah, lastly, I want you to know, not lastly, one other thing I want you to consider is consider using the Square to collect taxes. People often come into the office wanting to pay by credit card. I can only take checks on money orders. Just a consideration.
Can that be put on the website, please, Mr. Boggs?
Ms. Hughes, if I could offer some, one of the reasons that we weren't able to do that in the past is because we can't provide a discount on taxes and we can't pay to collect taxes. So when you use Square, there's a processing fee that's charged, and it was difficult to transfer their processing fee to the person paying, and we couldn't discount the taxes. So there are methods of being able to pay electronically that's not Square, that we're able to do that and we're able to pass that on to the consumer. Because otherwise it would appear as discounting the taxes by the processing amount.
All right, thank you for that information. That's good to know. With respect to the income that has been collected since the time period is July 15th through August 15th, there's been $28,987.64 collected on face. There's been $2,862.44 collected on the penalty for a total of $31,850.08. So ends my report.
Thank you so much. Committee reports, looks like there's no one here on public works safety.
The chief is here.
The chief is here. Chief, would you go to the mic, please?
Good evening. For the month of July 2023, we responded to 1,005 calls for service. There was 2 criminal arrests in the month of July. One was for DUI and disorderly conduct, and the other one was for a car theft. There were 14 traffic citation issued for the month of July. There were 1,181 parking tickets issued. There were 14 non-traffic citations issued. We hired, as the mayor stated, we hired 3 officers. They're all in field training and they're doing well. And we initiated a couple details, overtime details, to try to address the burglaries and the auto thefts. And as a result of that, that's when one of the arrests were made with the auto theft with the auto thefts going on. And charges have been approved for a 17-year-old male that was the main shooter in the community park shooting. We're just waiting to get the DA's final approval because there's a situation with this individual. He was paralyzed from the shooting, so right now they're trying to figure out transportation and everything. So he is in rehab. He's not getting out anytime soon, so once he's out, we're going to make arrangements to have him extradited out of Maryland. He's currently in Maryland.
So he shot himself?
No, he was shot by another shooter that we still have not identified.
Okay.
And as I explained in the symposium, when the shooting was going on, after the shooting stopped, the friends of the victim, or the friends of the 17-year-old, actually went over and were picking up shell cases and trying to remove the gun from the person. But thankfully, a resident with the wherewithal kind of stepped in the middle, and as our officers were responding, they dropped the gun. So he was in an altercation with someone that was shooting back at him as he was shooting at him. So we still have not got that individual. We're hoping that this individual cooperates. We do have his phone. They're going through his phone to see if there's any messages or any kind of arguments back and forth with this other individual. And that's my report.
Thank you, Chief.
So you have,
Well, you have
crossing
consideration.
yeah, you have
consideration.
So we have, Chief, can you talk to us about the Crime Watch app and what our realistic expectations should be with the Crime Watch app that we're paying for?
The Crime Watch app is a service that provides information to the public, and it also provides information to us. So when people sign up for it, they can send us information on, various things. They're going out of town, they have a registry for cameras, other advantages, and like I stated in my email to council, right now we only have 197 people that signed up for it. That's including the officers, that's also including Crime Watch staff and other law enforcement agencies that signed up to follow us.
Okay, so then what are we doing to increase the following?
We reached out, we posted it on the website, we community, we released it several times via media. We're actually pushing it out. I went out and handed out flyers I hand out flyers. When I go to different meetings, I always drum it up and we keep pushing it. What I was hoping to is I was invited to a meeting with Mr. Dotson via Zoom with Quad Jam, and I was talking to them to try to get another app that's free through the website, a push notification. So if people don't want to sign up for Crime Watch, once you sign up for the website, the borough website, you'll have your email, and it'll be a push notification in addition to Crime Watch. And I'm not sure with the web provider or any web provider you get, they can do that. And it's basically, you get your email, it's a push notification, so all the officers will have access to it, and Public Works, and I'm thinking even code, they can put out push notifications to the residents.
Okay, so my expectation would be that if there were a crime, that we would get some type of notification, even if you were on that Crime Watch app. You know, we got a notification about a road closure, but we didn't get notifications that the bridge was closed. We got notification, in that road closure, our street names are spelled wrong.
Yeah.
So that's something that we were paying for. Let's also make sure that we remember that, like, this borough paid for My Civic app, and that allowed push notifications. And that was something that it was done under a previous administration, but it's definitely had a contract. Mr. Nichols was heavily involved with it, and we shouldn't keep reinventing the wheel and spending borough dollars when we don't have to. This app has failed us at this point, if we're getting notifications of one thing and not another. I think that we need to make sure that, you know, we also are realistic about the limitations, because, you know, we were kind of sold a dream with this Crime Watch app, but then told that we don't have enough officers to put the information in. So, you know, I just want to make sure that there's a realistic expectation from the community, because like, we deserve to know what's happening in the community. There's also, I find out a lot of information on Nextdoor. So if that means you need to have a presence on Nextdoor to get some of that information, then, you know, you use the tools that we have. We can't just not be in the know. And I think that council and our mayor deserve to have information. If you're getting it at 6:30, we're getting it at 6:31. Like, that's important.
I agree, but now I'm not sure about that one app, and I'll talk to Mr. Nichols when he gets back from vacation. You said it's My Civic app?
Yeah, it was, My Civic app is the background app, but they created a Yeadon Borough app.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk.
The other thing is that we do have to kind of talk about how we can better utilize Nextdoor. I know they do have
Keyboard.
requirements or whatever was the word. We
I think
can't.
we can only, I think we can only.
Regulations
yeah,
is the word I'm looking for.
I'll look into Nextdoor,
Yeah.
but.
Well, I'm not talking about disseminating information. I'm talking about gathering information. If you were doing an investigation and you wanted to know something about Yeadon, that's probably where you should go.
But I can't
to
get
a
on
lot of your
Nextdoor because I'm not a
information.
Yeadon resident, and if I
The
put
mayor
it up,
is.
then the mayor can tell. I mean, if you want to scour Nextdoor for stuff, and that's what I keep stressing about 911. I get calls like, "Hey, didn't you see this on Nextdoor?" I'm like, "I'm not on Nextdoor. Like, I'm not on Nextdoor." So, if you want to have somebody scour
Initially,
Nextdoor,
and not to just compare, the previous chief was on Nextdoor hot and heavy and hold on, let me finish. He was kicked off. It was working well. He was kicked off because part of the regulations is can't be used for just regular law enforcement or whatever. So he was kicked off, and
He was forced to have an agency account. He wasn't kicked off. He was told he could not have a personal account. He had to be an agency.
Okay.
In which you can only post and you cannot read everything.
Okay.
You can only read what's commented on your own post.
so we have to look into that as you get acclimated. Yeah. Oh, how? Yeah. Yeah. So within the regulations, that's what I'm saying. We can't do everything, but we.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, my overall suggestion is to be more proactive rather than reactive, because we have to We deserve this information.
You
It's
do,
part
but
of our
you do.
public safety.
You do, but if I have the tools if I can't get on there to be proactive, to read every post,
Someone can get on there.
so you want me to scare, so, wait,
I mean, but
understand
the
what you're
same
saying.
way that you're asking us to report information to Crime Watch,
Yeah.
there are people who can report information to you directly. I'm just
If you make
asking.
posts, if you make posts on your agency account, with the comments turned on instead of the comments turned off, people can say things on your posts.
Okay,
You can't read the general public's posts.
okay,
But if you create a post from the current account you have, and you don't have the comments shut off as you currently do when you post, people can engage with, if you say,
engage civilly, right?
people can make
Okay.
comments onto whatever
Okay.
you say.
Okay.
I don't know how they'll engage.
Yeah, well, that's, okay,
But you post something with the comments turned on, people can make comments.
Okay.
I don't know what you'll get.
okay.
But it's not a completely, I can't do anything.
We can help you to help.
So what about, so I'm thinking about the manpower. Do you have, I don't.
I'll give you a perfect example about manpower, and I'm not to cut you off, I was
Right.
explaining to the mayor yesterday. We had one officer that had to go to a suppression hearing, as you know what suppression, you both know suppression hearings, so he had to leave. We had one officer working the street yesterday. I'm out, and look, we're a working chief, like, we just don't go, I wish, it's not like Philly where I can go, outlaw sits in the, does her thing, but she has a command staff. I'm out answering calls, which I don't mind. Lieutenant Burns was out answering calls, which he doesn't mind, and we had 2 detectives running around yesterday, because we had a lot going on. We had a burglary in progress that turned into be a squatter, so we were all out answering calls. So, right now, with the situation, if we can beef up our manpower, we can have that luxury, let's say, of checking that. I mean, of actually scouring that and working together. That's why I keep saying 911, 911, so if we're out there, we can answer the calls. But I understand your concern, and I agree with you. I mean, once we get fully staffed, we can do that. There's a lot of stuff we can do once we have the full personnel and the complement to do all that.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
The crossing
I know.
guards? Or-
Oh, the crossing guards, right.
You want to read your motions, Chief? Your
I have one,
considerations?
I don't have the agenda, but we're asking for consideration to hire 2 crossing guards, Miss Isabella Wade and Mr. Good. They have not, Miss Wade was a crossing guard coming from Upper Darby. She already has her clearances. Mr. Good is a former crossing guard coming back, so we're doing the clearances. So the motion would be consideration, once their background is complete, to hire them as part-time crossing guards, with all due
Okay.
respect.
Consideration of hiring Isabella Wade as a part-time crossing guard. You said all of her information is
Provided
intact.
that all background checks are passed.
Okay. Pursuant to that, we have all of her background check. Successful background check.
Second.
Questions, concerns? May we have a vote, Mr. Dodson?
Yes, ma'am. President Johnson, please.
Yes.
And Vice President Rowe-Cloud.
Yes.
And Councilor Monroe.
Is there a full-time option?
They're all part-time. All the crossing guards are part-time.
Morning and afternoon.
Okay, I'm just looking on the application and they checked full-time, so I was wondering why. So all of them are part-time?
Every crossing guard's part-time.
Okay, yes.
Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
And thank you, Councilor Monroe. The motion passed unanimously.
Consideration of hiring Joseph God as a part-time crossing guard pending successful background checks.
So moved.
Second.
Hold on, please.
Any questions, concerns?
Just one question, I don't even know if we're, it looks like, this applicant was previously employed by the borough. So did we find out?
He left on good terms.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, he left
all
on
right,
good terms,
yeah,
he went to another
okay.
job.
okay.
He's highly regarded, so.
Right, okay.
And we've had problems over the years in getting crossing guards that'll stay. The ones that we have usually stay. And when we lose, it's not a whole lot of people want those types of, people have not knocked the doors down for these jobs. So it's
May we have,
pursuant to a successful background check.
Is this one pursuant to successful background?
Both of them,
Yes.
both of them.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
yes. May we take a vote, please? Mr. Dodson?
Give me a minute, please, Madam
Okay.
President. Thank you. President.
Johnson.
This one
What do you
just,
have,
this is,
brain
no, what's happening is the names are not in order. So, President Johnson, please.
Yes.
I know it's going on. So, who made the motion, please? I lost my train of thought. For the part-timer. Who made the motion?
Beatty.
I made the motion.
Thank you.
And Road Cloud second.
Thank you very much. President Johnson, please.
Yes.
Thank you. And Vice President Rollcloud.
Yes.
Council Monroe
Yes.
and Council B.
Yes.
Unanimous. The motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. Do we have any old business that we need to discuss?
Council President, I'd like to be recognized.
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion for the termination of the Munch firm and the hiring of the Kilkenny firm as the borough solicitor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, concerns?
Question, yes. When-
There an engagement letter?
When, should the motion pass, when would that be in effect?
This evening.
Immediately.
Okay.
So is there an engagement letter?
That I'm aware of.
Engagement letter?
If not, there will be one drafted.
Yes.
That's fine.
Thank you.
I'd like to say to Mr. Boggs, we thank you so much for being here in Yeadon and helping us along. We're just looking to try some different avenues at this time. Thank you.
I'm gonna miss you, Chris Bowers.
Yeah, we like you.
There's a motion on the floor.
May we have a vote, please?
Counselor, please, President Johnson.
Yes.
Wait,
And-
was there a motion?
Yes,
It was, okay, it was second? It was-
yes.
All right, I missed it.
I'm doing the same thing. Vice President Rollcloud
Yes.
and Counselor Monroe
No.
and Counselor Beatty.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1 to terminate the services of Mr. Mark Munch's firm and to hire the firm Kilkenny. What is the proper name of your firm?
Kilkenny Law.
Thank you, sir. Kilkenny Law.
Who's next? Go, 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 go. Who's next?
Can I bring him up now? Do I need a motion to bring him up?
I mean, I can sit there, I just figured the meeting was over.
Yeah.
Do I need a motion first?
No, 15 is citizens forum, non-agenda
Do
item.
I need a motion?
No,
It's got the time.
citizens forum.
But do we have the numbers ready how much the firm is charging and all that stuff? Where's that? When did this happen? When did this happen? in Executive session?
For what?
How much are we paying? Where did all that come?
Don't threaten me with a good time. Not a problem.
discussed that.
That's not true. We discussed it. We discussed it. Nope.
What's the problem?
We discussed it. Would you like to introduce yourself? What do you want? Yeah.
Council President, if it might please the council board. My name is James Gallagher. I am with Kilkenny Law Firm. I am only here substituting tonight. I'm not certain if I will be the permanent solicitor for your borough, so you might have another colleague of mine from the firm. But at the very least, I was able to make it out tonight so that you could see someone from our firm, see a face. You might see Sean Kilkenny. He is the owner of the firm. I assume that will be who it is, but I'm not positive. As far as my own experience, I am the solicitor in Millbourne. I'm the solicitor in Fulcroft. I represent the Delaware County Health Department, Berks County Children's Youth Services. So I'm fairly adept when it comes to these things. So pleasure to meet all of you, and I enjoyed the meeting tonight. Thank you for having me.
This was an enjoyable one.
Thank you very much.
This was a tame one.
Council President, I'd like to be recognized.
At this time, I'll give my president's report. As you have seen. I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
I said I'd like to be recognized.
Go ahead.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to remove Isaac Dotson as Borough Manager and Borough Secretary.
So moved.
Second.
Well, I should have seconded. She already put the motion.
That's okay.
Questions, concerns?
It was moved by whom?
Councilor Monroe, second by Councilor Cloud.
Thank you.
Personnel matter, I don't believe we should have discussion.
You're right.
What did she say?
It's a personnel matter. I don't believe we should have discussion.
Can we take a couple of minutes as a recess, please, to executive session? Because they get called back. We don't know how to discuss who would come first.
I'd rather not executive session.
We have a plan.
We have a management firm.
This is the first messed up thing you've done?
Oh, man.
Who's going to be the new borough manager?
That's not what's on the floor, Mayor.
Well, my hope would be that Mr. Nichols would appoint someone from his firm, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case.
So
May I speak?
here's,
To save this, I
no,
would like to-
no. Here's the situation. There has been numerous mistakes being made. And the lack of expertise is really stagnating us. We are moving in a new direction, and we're trying to get people with expertise to sit in the seats.
So you're saying.
I'm saying, Mr. Sir
Excuse
from
me for a
Kilkenny's
second.
firm,
Excuse me,
please
you
advise
spoke.
them
Let
that
me
this
speak.
is a personnel
You're
matter
saying-
and they
you're-
shouldn't be discussing it on the floor.
You're saying that someone sat here and said that you're going to get Nafis Nichols to place someone here as a borough
I
manager?
said that would be my hope. I didn't say they had to.
I think that
Now,
you
we're
should
sitting
advise.
here right now
your new
without
president.
without a person to work on our website. We have no one. Now you want to get a new borough manager, and we don't even
There's
know
a
who
motion
this
on the
person's
floor.
gonna be?
There's a motion on the floor, and we shouldn't be
This is
discussing
crazy.
personnel.
It's absolutely crazy.
All right. So
You know
let's take a
what's
vote.
crazy? When we have borough managers
Counselor,
unilaterally making decisions
That is
to rent
crazy.
out borough properties. That's crazy. Without even asking whether or not it's legal without even making sure that it's safe.
But you know what? You should have someone in place before that decision is made.
And someone
That
will
would
be
be
in
the most
place.
professional
Someone
way
will
to
be
do
in
it.
place.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor. I respect the motion.
Let's go. You want to take the vote?
Please, that's fine. The motion reads to remove Isaac Dotson as Borough Manager. It has been motioned by Vice President Rollcloud.
Motion by Counselor Monroe.
Moved.
And second by Counselor Roquel.
Thank you very much. Madam President,
So moved.
question? You have to ask.
Questions? No, I guess they don't have any names.
No, this is a vote. This is a vote.
The vote, President Johnson
No.
and Vice President Rollcloud
Yes.
This is
and Councilman Monroe
Yes.
and Councilor Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passed 3-1 to remove Isaac Dotson as Borough Manager effectively immediately. Thank you all.
And Secretary.
And Secretary, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we need a new secretary, so I make a motion to adjourn.
No, you may not.
Oh, I can make a motion to adjourn.
At this time, we have citizens forum. Would any citizens like to come up and speak?
Will keys be returned by Isaac Dotson at this time?
Yes, they will.
I'll take my stuff out of my office and as the pledge of council, I'll return the key at this time.
Thank you.
As the motion is immediately.
How it usually goes down. Just making sure everybody's clear about how it's coming.
Citizens' comments, motion to adjourn.
Said that already.
Nobody spoke up. Motion to adjourn, nobody spoke up. I asked. I did ask. Did not.
We have to vote to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second. All right, so we all vote because there's no secretary. All right. There's no secretary.